We wanted to chat today about Brazilian
Yeah.
commodity producers, particularly Petrobras and Vale.
Mm-hmm.
The chart on Petrobras alone is brutal.
Woof.
High of 76.6 in 2008. Just a nice downhill
It was
slide
a darling.
ever since.
It was a darling back then. Everyone was clamoring to get
leading up
off-
to the financial crisis.
Yeah, everyone
right?
was clamoring to access offshore Brazilian oil.
They have they actually have a lot of oil. 8.7 billion barrels of crude,
Yep.
10.4 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. But
Sounds like big numbers, and it actually is
Right.
comparatively around the world. It's not a number one or number two reserve holder, but it's an important factor.
it's sizable and
Yeah,
we need it. And yeah.
Without it, we would be in dire straits.
In 60 seconds, can you give our listeners a rundown of the plethora of corruption problems at Petrobras?
Yeah, so
Feel free to take a minute and a half if you want.
they basically, it's been going on, or the one in particular that we're going to discuss today has been really going on since 2014 in terms of at least the investigation, dubbed the car wash scandal.
Why did it have that name?
Yeah, they're trying to scrub the government. I don't know. Anyways, you're talking about vendors overcharging Petrobras for some of the supplies and the equipment.
And
that they
these
were
are
using.
vendors that the government requires Petrobras to work with?
Yeah, so because
it's
they're
partially
state-owned.
state-owned?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not partially, majority state-owned.
Oh, okay, yeah, even better.
And so there's a mandate in there where they have to use a certain amount of local vendors. And then on top of that, they have to sell oil at a subsidized price. They have to buy it internationally, sell it domestically. So they're really getting screwed over on the margin side.
And all of this was okay pre-financial crisis because oil was, I mean, it went up there and gave $140 a high five.
Yes, it did,
as I
yeah,
recall.
yeah.
So all that was okay back then. 'Cause
Well,
oil
it
was 140.
it was on the development side, but then when you have oil prices that high and it's producing its own oil, it couldn't sell its oil to the refineries in Brazil. It had to go out and buy oil on the open market
Oh,
and sell
gosh.
it at a subsidized price to the domestic market. So,
How is this a good idea?
well, for the government, it seemed like it. For the company and investors, obviously not.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm at risk of being a stereotypical American here or something, but why not just let it do its thing, make money, and tax it heavily or something?
Oh, capitalism.
Okay.
Let it do its thing. I don't know why. The same thing with Vale. It's partially government owned.
Are they nearly as
miners-
corrupt? Like what happened there?
I don't believe there's as much corruption, at least that's been announced. But you
Iron
see,
ore is
you
just
see,
in the-
yeah,
in
you
the
see
tank.
the troubles of an entire country, especially the size of Brazil, being so heavily reliant.
They were
on
doing well in the two. Like, do you
materials and
remember Warren Buffett actually made a currency trade, which he never does, and he bought the Brazilian real.
Yeah.
That was like, I'm trying to remember. I think it was like 2007 or something. That's when they were. Anyway,
Interesting.
times change.
Yeah.
I read something earlier, and it was like Petrobras's corruption scandals are probably in the past. You don't necessarily agree with that, though?
Well, no, maybe within the company, but you're already seeing new discoveries or new rumors that new officials in the government are trying to undermine the probe because you've seen the government change hands in just the last month after the ouster of their former leader, and now his newly appointed cabinet members are already suspected of trying to undermine this probe, and so I think we're still a couple
Do they
of years.
own car washes?
I have no idea. I don't think there's enough water right now in Brazil to.
Oh, gee.
With all the hydropower they need, especially with the Olympics coming up, there's probably water restrictions
Oh,
on
that's
car washes.
right. The Olympics are there.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Thankfully, it's only in one city, so it might not be as disjointed as the World Cup was. Even though that seemed to have gone off without a hitch, but
Yeah.
at least they can only concentrate on one area rather than sending Americans on the longest route possible to try and win the World Cup.
Right. Okay, so bottom line for foolish investors, I hear all this stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
like, this sounds stressful. I don't need this.
You don't need it. If you're a long-term investor, you don't need it. You don't want it. Therefore, I wouldn't recommend investing in it.
Would you take either of these names if we gave you shares? Like,
Oh yeah, I would take them because
then you'd sell
they've
them.
been beaten up so badly that, and if they were given to me, whatever.
Right.
I wouldn't sell them right away. I would probably give them a chance, but I wouldn't put any more money.
But even at what
risk.
might be a bottom for iron ore and Vale and
That's the
oil
thing.
and
You're still
Petrobras.
trying to call a bottom, and Petrobras oil was above $100 for most of this time since 2008.
You know what? You're absolutely
and
right.
we've seen the share price.
Yeah.
When,
Okay.
with all the government mingling, not only in possible corruption, but also in the financials and their operations, I just don't see the benefit.
Just don't.
The risk far out. The reward could be great, but it's going to be a stressful ride.
Right.